I made a theory for every single BFB episode, 1 through 30. If you have watched any of my videos before, you would know that I make a lot of BFDI theories. 26 so far to be exact. But for this video, I will be making 30 more theories. Also, some of the theories will feature some very special guests, so look out for that. The first thing I thought when I watched BFB 1 was, how did 4 and X just randomly show up and decide to host a competition show? Well, in BFB 30, we hear X talk about how 4 has always been a fan of BFDI, so that's why he decided to host. But they live on the Equation Playground, which is most likely on a different planet, as we see 2 flying down from another planet in BFB 16. So 4 and X probably did the same. By the way, this theory was very basic, but trust me, it gets crazier. This one is about Roboti, and it does get a little bit dark, so just letting you know. But my theory is that Roboti is suicidal, and this episode helps prove that theory a lot. We see Roboti near the waterfall for a second, and it looks like he's about to jump when he moved over the plank he was on, but he ultimately failed. And when he was used to build the tower to escape the exit in BFB 16, he sort of just let them use him. He could have easily made the whole thing fall, but he is so used to being treated badly that he just doesn't care anymore. But I think he will, or even has gotten better. For BFB 3, my theory is that Balloony is secretly teaming up with 4. During the elimination, Balloony tells Cloudy this.
Cloudy, don't get so comfortable. Sleeping is 4's code word for elimination at Eternal Algebra class.
Balloony, you're not supposed to know that.
Oh, I was just guessing?
I think 4 already told Balloony about the elimination area, and he didn't realize that he had just told Cloudy that. And 4 then got mad and acted like he didn't know how Balloony knew that. And if you need more proof, in BFB 1 we hear Bell say, "I guess we'll never get Pin or Pillow back," and 4 recovers them. But he also recovers Balloony. Bell never said anything about Balloony, and 4 didn't know that he died. So how did he get recovered? Maybe because they were teaming up all along.
In BFB 4, Eraser asks Bell what her string is attached to. Bell specifically says, "I'd prefer not to tell." My theory is that Bell's string has something to do with the Algebraians, because they have never been shown with the actual objects. It was not shown how 4 stopped everyone from Black Hole in BFB 1. 2 also came from outer space in another BFB episode, which leads me to think that Algebraians live on an entirely different planet from the objects, and Bell's string might be attached to the planet they live on.
My theory for BFB 5 is that objects have real names. In BFB 5, Pin says,
"Wait, you don't know? My legal name is actually Ben."
So what if every object has their own legal name? Tree's legal name could be Lee. Lightning's legal name could be Frightening. Nah, I'm just playing, but this would be cool. My theory for BFB 6 is that Evil Leafy might make a return in Teapot. Yeah, sure, we saw her in BFDI 6, but technically that was in the past, so we really haven't seen her in forever. But in BFB 6, we see Evil Leafy as a recommended character, hinting at a possible return. I don't know, it's been 5 years since that episode, so probably not, but it's always a possibility.
My theory for BFB 7 is that Bobby is a vampire. Don't believe me? Watch this.
Oh my gosh, this is exciting. Huh? Where'd he go?
No! Donut's a vampire too?
Oh, there he is.
Bleh, still got other evidence.
Marker says Donut's a vampire too? Does that mean that someone else is a vampire? My theory is that it is Bobby. But you might be wondering why I chose him out of all other contestants. Well, watch this clip and you might realize why I chose him.
Dear Diary, I regret to inform you that I discovered something very horrific about Bobby today. You see...
Loser was reading Donut's diary when he said that he discovered something very horrific about Bobby. If we connect all the dots, I think it's pretty obvious that Bobby and Donut are vampires.
Donut might be a murderer. Dang, looks like we should title this video Exposing Donut or something. Like first we talk about how he's a vampire, now a murderer? Dang. Anyways, in BFB 8, the prize for Cake at Steak was the Fiery Speaker Box, chopped up into 7 different pieces. He literally killed Fiery Speaker Box just for a prize? That's pretty messed up. And like, if it's normal for him to kill someone for a prize, then wouldn't it make sense that that is not his first time doing something like that? But this theory could be incorrect, and it could all be for revenge, since Fiery Speaker Box killed Donut as a prize in BFDI, but who knows. For BFB 9, I couldn't think of a single theory for this episode, so to make up for it, here are some fun facts about BFB 9. BFB 9 is the shortest episode of BFB. It is also the only episode where the moon is visible from Earth while it's daylight. And lastly, BFB 9 has a secret hidden message. My theory for BFB 10 is that the exit might be in a completely different dimension. BFB's world, Earth, mainly just has like cartoonish backgrounds, while the exit completely changes that, with more of a realistic style to it. So my theory is that the exit is in a completely different dimension. Now, I know what you're saying, but FastDuck, the exit is inside of 4. But how do we know that? 4 is literally seen in the exit, and I don't think that he can go inside of himself like that. Continuing with the exit theme, my theory for episode 11 was originally going to be about where the exit door leads to, but in Teapot, they ended up revealing where it leads to. But I decided that I would still give you my theory on what I thought it would lead to. So I thought that the exit door would lead to wherever the elimination area is in Teapot, and the eliminated Teapot contestants, as well as the exiters, would have to find a way to escape the elimination area. Sort of like a little side quest. But this theory was proven false, all because of Teapot 7. You little stupid Teapot 7. In BFB 12, while Fanny is walking over to 4 to ask him to recover Bubble, the recommended characters are in the background, and Gelatin ends up taking one of them. And they happen to be a steak, and Gelatin owns a steakhouse, so if we connect the dots, we can see that he literally took him to use at his steakhouse. Is Gelatin a murderer? I don't know, but this video exists, so this kind of further proves my theory.
Hello viewers, it is I, GDNacho, here to bring you all the theory corresponding to BFB 13. And let me tell you, when FastDuck contacted me to be on this video, I went to rewatch the episode in search of copper, and yet I found gold. My theory? Basically, I believe this episode strongly suggests that recommended characters are born on their debuts. My supportive evidence is 2 long lines of dialogue, a blink it and you miss it detail. So small I haven't really heard anyone ever discuss it, like the entire community missed it. So, late into the episode, Edith pulls Buck in to confront her about her taco abandonment issues. The former puts her into blast and questions what's making Buck act so horribly irrational. Katie starts by saying a really interesting line.
Alright, Book, say whatever you want, but if you really think you're in the right here, if you really think your yelling is somehow protecting this team and Ice Cube, then I have to ask you this. What were the first words you remember saying?
I'm a dictionary, and you'd better believe it.
How did everyone collectively manage to ignore that? Katie isn't specifying the first words you remember saying in the show. No, she should straight up telling her to remember the first words, period. You know, ages in BFDI is a topic that hasn't really been nailed down by the community. However, with this BFB 13 scene in mind, the jigsaw start falling into place. To bring up more conclusive evidence to support my theory, it's a canonical fact that Gelatin's age, who started out as a recommended character, coincides with the release of his first apparition in the show, June 29th of 2012. This is frankly a bit of a rabbit hole, and I wish I could go deeper, but we do have to get to BFB 14, so I think I'll leave it here. Goodbye.
My theory for BFB 14 is that the waterfall in BFB leads to our world. Like, you know, real life. Yeah, so basically in BFB 14, we see Woody going through the vent, and then he falls down the waterfall, and somehow appears in the real world. It doesn't make sense really, but maybe this means that the waterfall leads to the IRL world. In BFB 15, we see Flower digging through Cloudy's collection, and she finds a remote that controls Golf Ball's underground factory. I think this means that Cloudy stole Golf Ball's remote. My theory is that Cloudy is a thief, all for the sake of adding new things to his collection. In BFB 16, at the very beginning of the episode, we hear Loser talking about how he felt himself combined with 4. This doesn't make sense, but it was quickly revealed that it was Donut that got combined with 4. As we know, Loser was reading Donut's diary, but then he said that he found out what was inside of the speaker box. Oh wait, Donut conveniently stopped writing his diary right before he said what was inside of the speaker box. But what is inside of the speaker box? I don't have any evidence to back this up, but what if one of the contestants are controlling him? Out of all of the contestants, it would probably be Flower. And she controlled him into coming back and making the show end on purpose for her to save the show, and then she won. And Flower literally owns an announcer crusher, so I feel like maybe she could be controlling him. But I'm not all that confident with this theory, so let me know what you guys think and if you have any better theories. It looks like we have made a theory for every episode of Pre-Split, but we're not done just yet. Before we continue with Post-Split, check if you're subscribed. If you're not, then consider subscribing if you liked the video so far. If you haven't liked the video, then stick around, because the theories will only get crazier from here. Now we can continue. For a split second in BFB 17, after Lollipop says that she wasn't comfortable with being around Leafy, Leafy's big eyes reappear, and they look a little familiar. Oh yeah, that's right. Those are the same eyes that Evil Leafy has. So my theory is that Leafy and Evil Leafy are the same person. I mean, we have never seen them together at the same time, so this theory might actually be true. My theory for BFB 18 is that Flower is not a flower, and that she is actually a human. In BFB 18, we see that she has a brain, but that isn't the only reason that I think she's a human. First off, she has the most human-like body out of all the contestants, well, besides David and Dora. And without any petals, she would look like a human, sort of like Carrie KH's yellow figure.
In BFB 19, we can see X whispering to Lollipop about something, and Lollipop repeats what he whispered. Here's the clip.
I see. Yes, BFB 3. Oh my. And he burned you? What a monster. Don't worry, X. I'll avenge you.
After watching BFB 3, when 4 was close to killing Gelatin, X interrupted 4 and told him it was time for the intro, and 4 seemed pretty mad. Then X just doesn't appear for the entire elimination sequence, and once he says, "I'm back," 4 nervously replies with,
Nobody noticed you were gone.
Do you guys like my impression? So from this, we know that 4 most likely killed X. But my theory is that 4 does this all the time to X whenever he makes him mad. Oh, and remember how Lollipop said she would avenge X? Well, that hasn't happened yet, so I don't know if it will, but this theory is still pretty cool.
For a split second in BFB 20, Ruby reappears on screen after already being eliminated earlier that episode. And I know some of you are going to say, it's just a mistake. But you should know by now, I will take the slightest bit of information and find a way to make it into a theory. Anyways, my theory is that Ruby never got eliminated. Okay, yeah, this has to be one of the worst theories I've ever made. Moving on to the next episode. BFB 21. Bubble is not actually Bubble, a theory popularized by Object-Sided. During BFB 1, some of the contestants walk into Yellowface's warehouse, and Bubble says, "So that's where I got the Bubble Transformer all those years ago," or something like that. We also have to look back at BFGI 7, where Yellowface hosts an ad about the Bubble Transformer. Here's the clip.
Want skin that's smooth and soft? Then buy our Bubble Transformer! It'll turn you into a bubble! And Bubble's skin is super smooth. None of the people in our survey said they didn't like it because they popped before we could contact them, and we don't sell personal bubble recovery centers, so they died. So yeah, buy now!
My theory is that Bubble used a transformer and isn't actually Bubble. But who is she? I've been thinking about this for a while, and all I can think of is that it might be a different object every time. But that doesn't really make sense, so this one is up to you. Comment down below on who you think Bubble actually is. My theory for BFB 22 is that Woody sees the world differently than everyone else, and that's why he's always so scared. In BFB 22, the challenge is to find out who stole Donut's diary, and when Woody gets called to the stand, we see what Woody's world might look like to him. So yeah, I see this as how he sees the world rather than him lying.
In BFB 23, 4 gets locked up in a prison and the challenge is to save him. The reason why he got locked up was because he trespassed into the courtroom that he didn't own, and while he explains the challenge is to break him out of the jail, he says that he was put behind bars the night before. But my theory is that 4 is a criminal, because most of trespassing crimes usually carry a maximum of a sentence of 1 year in jail, and 4 was there in less than a day, which means that 4 escaped prison, which also means that 4 is a criminal.
Gelatin has a clone. In BFB 24, the voice actor for Gelatin changed. And I know that just because there's a new voice actor for Gelatin doesn't make him a different person, but what about the actual show? None of the characters even noticed that his voice changed, and I feel like ever since BFB 24, his personality has changed as well. But my theory doesn't end there. In BFDIA 5E, we see 2 Gelatins at once, which further proves my theory even more.
Despite BFB 25 being one of the shortest episodes, I still managed to find a good theory for this one. In BFB 25, the challenge is to find a totem, but some of the totems are cursed. Gelatin ends up finding a cursed totem, and 4 says this:
That totem is obviously filled with vomit! Which Which means, Gelatin, not only are you cursed with evil spirits for 1,000 years, you are also up for elimination!
My theory is that Gelatin didn't win BFB 30 because he was cursed for 1,000 years. I mean, the writers definitely had a little bias towards Flower to win BFB, but maybe that's just because they knew Gelatin was cursed and this was all part of the story.
My theory for BFB 26 is that Profiley actually has been in the show since the beginning. For context, in BFB 26, a random character named Profiley shows up and claims to have been competing in BFB the whole time. But they also said that they have been competing in BFDI and BFDIA. The reason I think they have always been competing and Profiley isn't lying is all because of one little scene in BFB 28. But we'll get to that later. For now, we still have to talk about BFB 27. Once the elimination was over in BFB 27, Lollipop floats up in the air about to fly to the BRB. How do we know that Lollipop ended up at the BRB? We never saw her there, and it wouldn't make sense because they were driving pretty far away. But where did she end up at? Well, my theory is that she just kept on floating endlessly. Alright, back on track. Remember how I was talking about profiling and the scene in BFB 28? Well, hopefully so, because if you don't, then, Anyways, here's that one little scene I was talking about.
Hello, announcery for founcery.
Hello, Profiley.
See how the announcer recognized Profiley? How would he recognize Profiley if they have never competed? That's why my theory is that Profiley was telling the truth. The announcer might be teaming up with two. Here's why. First of all, we need to go back to BFDI 25, the finale. A UFO landed and the announcer left to go to his home planet, but nobody knows where they went. But this leads to BFB 16, when 2 flies down to Earth to steal 4's show. What if the announcer flew up to wherever 2's planet was, and 2 told the announcer about 4 and X hosting BFB? So the announcer and 2 made a plan to steal it back. First, 2 would go down to Earth and split up the show to make it easier. And the announcer would take the show back from 4 and waste the budget purposefully to cancel the show. Then try to take back the BFDI. I personally think this is a really good theory, and it might be correct. Who knows what 2 will end up doing with Teapot if this theory is true. My theory for BFB 30, the final episode, is that BFB was just a dream. In order to explain this theory, we have to go way back. BFDI 1A, take the plunge. We have a few things to remember from this episode and the first 3 seasons in general. The writing style, goofy, and anything can happen. The voices and just everything felt super fun. But in season 4, Battle for BFDI, everything just magically changes. The animation style, the location of the contestants, even the voices too. But whose dream is it? Before I tell you, watch this clip.
He'd sit and memorize BFDI episodes. He was in love with it. Still watching that BFBDFI show thing, are you?
Uh-huh. Oh, this is my favorite scene of this episode.
Let's take some time to commemorate Blocky's elimination.
No, let's not do that.
I agree, let's not. One day, Axe people are gonna be quoting me. I'm gonna be on that show.
Really, 4?
The world's gonna know my name. I'll be the favorite. I'll be the favorite.
Once the second season finished, 4 compiled all of his recordings of the episodes into a block, creating the BFDI.
After watching that, we now know that 4 has always dreamed of hosting a show for BFDI. And my theory is that it was a dream. 4's dream. To back this up, I also have a few more things that I want to point out. 1, everything seems to go 4's way, and when it doesn't, things start to get very hectic. And 2, with BFDI continuing, this further proves that BFB was all a dream and has never been a thing. And maybe that makes this entire video meaningless. Alright, we are finally done giving every BFB episode a theory. We did it! Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys very, very soon for my next video. Bye!